In the 1950s, people of Europe remained in poverty. There were insufficient industrial production and trade, general shortage of ordinary energy, and development of new fissile power at the same time, followed by imminent nuclear catastrophe and severe nuclear arms race. These are just a few examples you may heard about under the topic of post-war problems, the Cold War, or European nuclear cooperation. These themes raise questions about nuclear integration for Western Europe as well as for the whole Europe since 1957. We want to ask European nuclear cooperation. What is this? In 1957, the Inner Six, including Belgium, the Netherlands, Luxembourg, Italy, West Germany, and France, signed the Euratom Treaty and established the European Atomic Energy Community. It was the very first beginning of the European nuclear cooperation. With the purpose of promoting joint effort to develop atomic energy for industrial use, it formed an intergovernmental nuclear cooperation to maximize the productive capacity in the atomic field and create suitable conditions for the peaceful development of a powerful nuclear industry. It established standards of uniform safety to protect the worker and public health, for instance. It also signed the 10-year agreement with the Atomic Energy Commission in 1964 for getting supply of plutonium and uranium and information of developing fast reactor from the US. This cooperation means a great step forward and opportunity to Europe. To the cooperating countries, Euratom members pool their atomic resources and skill so that all of them could ensure security of official supply as a means of achieving energy independence. They understood that working together, especially backing up by the US, would do better than individual because the cost of investing in nuclear energy was not possible to be met by oneself. To the Western Europe as a whole, Euratom could promote European peace and unity through nuclear cooperation. They hand over their control of their nuclear expertise and industries to an outside authority, which highlight their confidence and trust in others. As nuclear was a major sign to show how powerful a country was. If the two age-old enemies, France and Germany, could develop and share their technology to each other, it would definitely help to wipe out their mistrust and suspicion, which was one of the factors contributing to the Great War. After a year, the Nuclear Energy Agency was set up under the OECD with the mission of further developing of nuclear power through international cooperation, the scientific, technological, and legal basis required for the safe, environmentally friendly, and economic use of nuclear energy for peaceful purposes. It involved 10 more members than Euratom like Austria, Portugal, and the UK. It would check and ensure the peaceful spread of atomic technology by providing experts and organizing forums to make consensus on their technical and policy issues, programmatic information, common position, and so forth. The increasing number of European countries in participating nuclear corporations seems to convey that they could use the atomic power to enhance countries' capability and people's lives. Certainly, atomic power would be a cheap, clean substitute for fossil fuels, coal, gas, and oil in the production of electricity. It will also enable countries that lack other natural fuels resources to accelerate their development. That sounds great when they try to develop nuclear power for pure industrial use. Yet, this cooperating country did not follow the principle of limiting its use in a peaceful way under the guidance of Euratom and NEA. It reflects that the cooperation for seeking European peace was not very effective. Nuclear weapons like atomic and hydrogen bombs were kept manufacturing and testing by some of them. For example, France had an atomic bomb by 1960 and an H-bomb by 1968. I believe Euratom and NEA enable many countries to use their atomic technology to produce armaments. So, European people at that time lived in fear of nuclear war, dangers of radiations, and accidents of bomb tests. You can imagine how the story goes. Anti-nuclear activism at its best.
So the participants within the anti-nuclear movements in Europe not only pressurized their governments to adjust the nuclear policies, they even fostered a European integration within the civilian levels, creating new common values. The most successful example was the nuclear disarmament movement. As early as in the 1950s, anti-nuclear organizations and petitions began to appear within different Western European states, demanding their governments to stop nuclear tests and abandon their atomic weapons. However, by the 70s, because of the détente, treaties such as the Nuclear Test Ban Treaty were signed to ease the atomic arms race. Seeing some initial success, many participants lose their initiative and change their focus on other critical situations such as the Vietnam War instead, resulting in the movement's decline. Yet in the early 1980s, the campaign suddenly regained its momentum. This was attributed to the rise of hawkish politicians within the two blocs. Aggressive military diplomacy by Brezhnev and Reagan led to the resurging of the Cold War tension. Hostility intensified when the Soviets began to deploy its SS-20's intermediate-range missiles. In response, the US decided to install the Pershing II missiles in Western Europe. This confrontation, however, were met with strong civilian resistances from different countries. For example, in 1981, 550,000 Dutch turned out in an anti-IMF missiles demonstration in Amsterdam, while 400,000 British joined the Campaign for Nuclear Disarmament March in 1983. To the participants in Western Europe, none of these anti-nuclear activities showed any intentional cooperation at all. Many were only separated regional activities at the beginning, with no centralized organization to coordinate these campaigns. But what they shared was a common vision and goal. Horrified by the resurgence of hostility and the threat of total annihilation of Europe by nuclear weapons, they wanted to show their opposition to the reproliferation of nuclear weapons and demanded the superpowers to end the Cold War by abandoning nuclear aggression once and for all. More significantly, the civilian movements broke the barrier between the East and the West in Europe. By 1980s, some British activists formed the European Nuclear Disarmament Appeal with the aim to free the entire territory of Europe from nuclear weapons. Slowly, the organization attracted other anti-nuclear organizations around Western Europe to join in. Yet more importantly, it also invited many of their counterparts in the satellite states such as Hungary and Romania to join too, so that the European activists were not just loyal to the East or West, but to each other. To Europe as a whole, this was the first sign of East-West cooperation within the social area. By pulling the regional powers together, the anti-nuclear organizations from both blocs form a solid demand to free Europe from nuclear fear and aggressions. The integration had also reinforced the worldwide anti-nuclear movements in the 80s and played a significant role in ending the Cold War. The public pressure became so high, it eventually forced the institutions to give in. For example, NATO's member states demanded their organization to withdraw its nuclear weapon strategies. It also forced the superpowers to negotiate, alleviating the tension at that time. Overall, regarding the institutional area of nuclear cooperation, organizations like Euratom were established to encourage cooperation within Western Europe in developing nuclear energy. As for the civilian area, it eased and restrained the nuclear proliferation during the Cold War. It also created a more integrated Europe through redefining the common identities and aspirations of Europeans. Both of these areas have fostered the integration of East and Western Europe. And on that bombshell, we will end this video. Thanks for watching.